Hey YouTube, it's Barry Aldridge here. How's it going, people? Yeah, today, I wanted to talk about something that's kind of interesting and something relatable also to me from the very past. As I've heard, though, it's with January, it's known as dry January. It's basically what it is, yeah, it's just to give up alcohol or move away from alcoholic drinks and that throughout the whole month of January, which I think is a really, really cool idea. It was all started and delivered by Alcohol Change UK, which is a UK charity, which is actually really, really cool. And I think it's a really, really nice idea. And it became a major thing in 2014, and it was actually started by someone named Emily Robinson back in 2011, though, when she did it in 2011. And that's really cool. And I think, you know what, that's a really, really cool idea in that. And I think it's really, really good. It gets people off the minds and that. And I think it's a really, really positive thing. And to those who are doing it, more power to you, no question about it. It can be a very, very tough thing, though, to be honest, to be fair. Now, I'm going to say this. Now, as you judge from the title of the video, I actually did dry January well before then. I did this back in 2006, at least around about 7 years before it was first introduced back in 2013 by Alcohol Change UK, which were known as Alcohol Concern, and then it became a registered thing though in 2014. So I did it at least 7 or 8 years before it actually became a thing. And so why did I do it though, really, in general? Why did I do it? Well, here's the thing about it though, really. First of all, I had appendicitis, at the end of 2005, which I will go into later in the year. I might do another video about it when it comes to that anniversary. And I had my appendix removed, and it was kind of interesting as well, and I was, that was one of the mindsets. And then during also that time, one of my favorite wrestlers at the time, Eddie Guerrero, passed away from, I think it was like alcohol poisoning or something like that, no, on November the 13th. And then around about a week later, I had my appendix removed, and it made me think about certain things. And then I watched, after about a week or so, when I got out of the hospital, I watched a documentary called Jake the Snake Roberts Pick Your Poison, where he talks about his battle with alcohol and drugs and all that sort of stuff. And I felt like I needed to make a motivational change in that. And also around about that time, the footballer George Best passed away, on the day that I actually got out of the hospital from alcohol. And I was like, man, I needed to make some differences in that. And I was having alcopop drinks at around about 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning and that. And I was like, okay, you know what? I need to make a change in my entire life. So I issued it as a New Year's resolution. Now, it was not known as dry January at that point. It was kind of like what I did it well before it became dry January. And so I had all my family was saying like, yeah, you'll never do it. You'll never do it. You'll probably do it for like 2 or 3 days and then you're kind of done. I wanted to prove them wrong. Now, at the time, they saw me more as a prankster. Now, I wanted to be taken a lot more seriously. And you know what? I'm kind of glad, though, I did this challenge. So I went about with it, no drink or whatever. And then, yeah, I mean, some people say, is it hard, though, over the first few days? Yeah, it can be. To be honest with you, it was hard, if I remember rightly. I know it was a long time ago. It's around about nearly 20 years ago when I did it. But, man, it was a little bit hard than that. And I was like 22 at the time when I did it. And I felt like, man, I need to do this. It's because, like I said, I've been drinking like alcohol, like Smirnoff Ice at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning when I woke up and that. And that's not a good thing. And also, I have a family history where alcohol was a bit of a problem, though, in the family. So I felt like, I wanted to beat that. And also, I didn't want to lose another organ like I did with my appendix. So I kept going with that, and I kept it going for like a year. Now, within like, say, after my birthday, my family were really surprised I was so committed to it, and I kept going with it, and I kept going and going, and I proved a lot of people wrong. I went into university, never had a drink, and so forth, and kept going with my mind going. I would say after around about two and a half months or 3 months, I kind of forgot alcohol actually existed. I was like, it's not there. It's not quite there at that. And so that's what it was. And I completely forgotten, that it actually existed. So it's like, it was wiped from my mind. But like I said, those first few days when people say it's difficult, it is. It is very, very difficult. I won't lie. I mean, I know it was a long time ago, but I do think it was a little bit tricky, though, back then. So I do believe those stories where people would actually have trouble with alcohol. But it wasn't as super bad, though, really. I know there are people who've had worse cases, no question. And When I got to around about a year, I remember, yeah, we moved out of South London. And I remember I was walking with mum, walking around Brighton on New Year's Day in 2007. And my mum reminded me, you had given up alcohol. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, it was a nothing thing. Like, I had completely forgotten about that alcohol was part of my life a bit, especially with Alco Pops. But, but it does contain vodka in it. But I digress. So I kept on and eventually, though, I did an entire year without it. So it proved I could live without it. And then I remember it was my birthday when I was down in Brighton with my brother and my best mate. And we were out in Brighton, down the Brighton Marina. They wanted me to have a drink. And I was like, fine, I'll just have one and that. And I had a drink. They felt bad. And I even felt bad afterwards. But I think it was more, I felt bad, probably around about years later. No question. I felt like, maybe it's time, though, to kind of like, I wish I never did that, though, really. But, at the time I wanted to prove that I could actually do it. And they felt bad afterwards. I think they were just drunk or something like that. I do not understand drunken people sometimes. And I never ever will, though, really, to be honest with you. So, and then after that, I think I just had one more drink in April or May. I really cannot remember the date because it was like, I just wanted to say, you know what, I had that drink and now I just want to move on completely. And it was more about because we moved into a town called Lancing at the time. I don't live in there, though, anymore. And we went to the local pub across the road and we just had a drink just to celebrate that we finally moved in. I thought, you know what, this will be my last ever drink. And that was my last ever drink ever since. And so from April of 2007, so I've done like probably 17 years, probably up to 18 years in April where I've not had a drink at all. So, and I decided, though, you know what? Why not? I kept going with it. I thought nothing of it. And for people asking me, have I ever tried drinks that have no alcohol in it? No, absolutely not. For me, yeah, I feel like, yeah, if I did that, I'd probably go back into maybe the other drinks as well. And I think of alcohol as kind of like nothing. The greatest thing, though, with nowadays, people are more accepting about people not having a drink. I'm glad there are pubs and bars and places where they allow, say, like places where you don't have to drink to socialize or whatever. And it has improved over the years, no question about it. I just feel like, back then, even the 1990s and 2000s, I think a change needed to happen. And I think a lot of mainstream society was not quite ready or not quite understand about why, people didn't want to have a drink. And I feel, I think, I understand why, because they feel like they won't want to lose their social norm. But I feel like there's more important things than having a drink to have a really, really good time, though, really, in my view. And I think there's more important things to worry about. And I'm kind of glad, though, that, I gave up drink around about in my early 20s, thank God. So it's not the most important thing in the world. And I think some of my friends have started to realize that over the course of time, that it isn't about what you drink. But hey, I'm not going to stop anybody from drinking. If you feel like it's going to help you, that's fine. But my only concern would be, just be mindful about how much you drink or who you're with or whatever sort of thing. And understand that not everyone is into drink at all, though, really, at the end of the day. So that's all I can say on that matter as well. And yeah, that's what it is as well. Because with Dry January, it made me think, yeah, you know what? I actually did this before it became a mainstream thing, which I'm actually quite proud of because I like to be outside. Like I say, I like to be outside of the box, and this is definitely is outside of the box in general. I'm glad that Emily Robinson introduced this thing, and also Alcohol Change UK did introduce this around about 11 years ago as part of the mainstream culture. I'm so glad about that. And I know the last few years it's become something a bit more special every year, which is great. Do I wish there was something like this back in 2006? Yes and no. Yes, in terms of getting it out there earlier to the public, but also at the same time, doing the challenge before it became part of mainstream culture is a great thing, though, to me personally, though, really. I think for me, a personal goal, yeah, I'm glad, though, I did it before it became mainstream, but also, yeah, I would have liked this sort of idea to have been mainstream a lot earlier. Like I said, it's the yes or no thing. It's very, very confusing. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you take care of yourselves. I will speak to you very soon. Peace.